Welcome back, athletes. This is part 2 of our 10 best rings exercises to build upper body strength. If you haven't already checked it out, we have part 1 where we cover the first 5 exercises, and you can check the link in the description below to find that video. For today's video, we're going to be covering the remaining 5 exercises. So let's go. Let's keep building that upper body strength next with the front lever. We're going to raise the rings higher up, ideally so we can hang without hitting the ground with our feet. And this is classified as a horizontal pull exercise with straight arms. There are a variety of shapes we can do in the front lever. And first, we're going to start off with the tucked front lever. So I like to have this start off in the inverted hang, and then we lower eccentrically into the static hold. So we need to find ourselves in the inverted hang, either by swinging up to it or lifting up to it, perhaps in a tuck position. Now, once upside down, either enter in or maintain the tuck position, and then we're going to slowly lower the hips forwards so that our hips and shoulders are in line, they're horizontal, and it's parallel to the floor. Now, as you enter in, it's important that you depress the shoulders and push the rings towards your hips or towards your thighs. And we're maintaining a tuck position. The tighter that you tuck, the easier this will be. And obviously, if you start to open the hips and legs up, the more difficult this will be. And once you enter into the final position, you want to hold this as a static position, increasing in duration over time. After finishing the front lever hold position, you want to lower slowly into the hang position before dropping off the rings, rather than disengaging and falling out of position completely. There are a variety of ways to increase the intensity of this exercise. And firstly, we can change it through body shape. So right now we're doing a tucked front lever. Later on, we can do more of an open tuck, a straddle, a single leg position, an open half layout position, or even the full body front lever position. And then later on, as we get stronger, we can enter into the front lever from the normal hang position. Now, some common errors that we see with front levers, first are bending the arms. Because this is a lock arm strength position, you want to develop this from the very beginning. As you're starting in the inverted hang, your arms are already straight. You want to maintain this as you enter into the front lever. So if you find that you're bending your arms in the front lever, regress the exercise and make it easier. Another common error is a lack of shoulder depression. This will really ensure that you're balancing out your front lever and exerting the pressure in the right way. Rather than being shrugged and elevated, you want to be depressed and pushing down on the rings. Another error that we see, which is more subtle, is burrowing the head inwards. And you want to keep the head neutral and in line with the spine in the front lever. So the front lever is a great exercise for continuing to build upper body strength. Now, to make sure that our upper body training plan is well balanced, we want to complement the front lever with the back lever. So we're going to continue on with the same setup of having the rings nice and high. We want to enter into the inverted hang, and we want to assume the initial position that we are training in the back lever. So first off, we'll start with the tucked back lever, meaning we'll start off in the tucked inverted hang. So once you're in this position, make sure you're contacting your lats and triceps together to lock this in and help you be in a stronger position for the back lever itself. As you slowly lower and enter in, you want to exert that downward pressure on the rings and try to protract the shoulders a little bit. They're going to want to retract, and you have to fight that kind of movement. Now carry on lowering into the position until your body is parallel to the floor with a flat spine. If you're experiencing elbow pain in this position, you can simply pronate your hands instead of having them in the supinated position. When you're ready to descend and get out of this position, you want to slowly lower, get into the skin the cat position, and then dismount from the rings, rather than disengaging and swinging down into the skin the cat, which will put a lot of stress on the shoulders. As you get stronger, you want to hold the back lever longer in duration. To intensify this exercise and scale it up, we're going to do this through changing the body shape. So we can go from the tuck to the open tuck, to a straddle, to a single leg, to half layout position, and then eventually to the full straight body back lever position. Some common errors that we see in the back lever are that people fail to squeeze the triceps and lats together. Another common error that we see is retracting the scapula. And when doing so, you'll tend to be in a lower and arched back lever instead of the flat, straight body, nice and strong position. Now the back lever is classified as a horizontal push exercise, which complements the front lever as the horizontal pull exercise. Next up, we've got the L pull-up, which is classified as a vertical pull exercise. And we're going to start off in the straight body position with the head in between the shoulders. And we're going to engage the core and lift the legs up into the L position. To initiate the pull, we want to retract and depress the shoulders and then pull the body up to the rings as high as possible, and you want to maintain the L position without deviating. Hold this top position briefly and then slowly lower back down to the L hang. To make this a little bit easier, we can reduce the length of our legs by being in a tucked L position. Some common errors that we see are first, that there is a relaxed core. So this will look like a lower back arch, and the legs will tend to be a little bit lower than horizontal. And unfortunately, this is maintained throughout the duration of the exercise when this is how it starts. So you first must start with an engaged core, posterior pelvic tilt, really lift up on the rings, and it's going to feel like you have to push a little bit forwards and downward on the rings before initiating the movement. Another common error that we see is that people will stick their head behind their arms. And ideally, you want to keep it neutral in the hang position and then pull while looking forwards. And again, make sure that there is a controlled concentric and eccentric portion to this exercise. So again, this is the L pull-up on the rings. Next up, we're going to be focusing on one of the most popular rings exercises, which is the muscle up. This combines both pull and push work and really targets every muscle in the upper body. This is why we've handpicked it as one of the top 10 essential rings upper body exercises. We're going to start off in the hang position with a false grip, meaning that the ring is contacting more of the wrist rather than the palm. And we want to start with straight arms, meaning we should internally rotate the shoulders and turn the ring so that our palms are facing the outside. We want to make sure that the ribs are in rather than flared out, thinking about hollowing the body, a posterior pelvic tilt, squeezing the glutes, and this is your start position. Now, when ready to initiate the pull, we want to retract and depress the shoulders and pull down on the ring so that our fists are close to our sternum. We want to transition, the ring is next to us, and by which case we're at the bottom of a dip, and then we want to straighten the arms out, lock them out, and turn the rings out. This transition period is typically the trickiest part of the muscle up. After reaching the top position with the arms locked out, when ready to descend, we want to lower down through the dip, bring the rings back in front of our chest, and lower back to the hang position. Now, while doing the muscle up, you want to try to keep the rings as close to your midsection as possible. So as you're pulling up and doing the transition, keeping the rings close by, moving them out to the side, and especially as you're doing that dip and the top portion, keep the rings close to your body. The further apart they are, the harder this will be. Now, because the muscle up is such a difficult exercise, it's important that we learn how to scale down the exercise, and we can do this in a variety of ways. We can do a band-assisted muscle up. We can do the chair muscle up. There are a variety of ways to break this down into parts. We can do it eccentrically. So regardless of where you are in this process, training the muscle up, whether it's regressed or the full exercise, you want to add this to your training. Some common errors that we see in the muscle up are that people fail to pull high enough before transitioning in the pull-up, therefore making the transition almost impossible and too low to even get into the bottom portion of a dip. Another common error would be chicken winging, where you are unevenly moving one shoulder before the other, and this is usually built from a bad habit and or lack of strength. And then lastly, we want to make sure we finish the lockout. This is stressed as a common error because we tend to skip the last maybe 2% of a skill. We want to really finish that lockout to ensure a proper top position. Now, our last exercise is a core exercise, and it's going to be the leg lift. So we want to start off again in that straight body hang position, emphasizing all of the right engagement with the ribs being in, pelvic tilt, tight core, tight glutes. Keep the head in between the shoulders. We want to lift the legs straight body into the L position and then lower back down slowly into a hang. Now, if you start picking up swing, it's because you're lowering a little bit too quickly. Now, as you lift your legs up, you want to think about pushing downward and maybe a little bit forwards on the rings. This will help you lift your legs up by recruiting more upper body muscle. To make this a little bit easier, we can do what's called a tuck up. We start off in the straight body position and then lift our knees to our chest and then lower back down to the straight body position. To make this leg lift harder, you want to carry on and lift your legs all the way up to the ring position and then lower back down slowly. Some common errors that we see with leg lifts, first one being the head being behind the arms. And instead of keeping the shoulders and ears more in contact, they tend to throw the head back and lift the legs up. But really, we want to keep this neutral position when doing the exercise. And the second common error, as mentioned before, is utilizing swing. It's easy to drop the legs and then swing back up to the next rep. But really, you're not training your core so much. So you want to slow the tempo down and have a slow, controlled movement upwards, return back to hang with no swing. And that's our 10th and final upper body rings exercise that we have for you, the leg lift. Let's quickly talk about format of the ring structure. So I have two suggestions. The first one being if you have multiple rings at your disposal, one where you can set it low and the other set high. And this would be for optimal performance and efficiency because we can change and alternate muscle groups. And we'll first start with the most challenging exercise, which is the muscle up. And then we'll go secondly into the front lever. Then we'll go to pike push-ups. Fourth would be the L pull-up. Fifth would be the back lever. Sixth, archer push-up. Seventh would be the rows. Eighth would be the push-ups. Ninth, rings fallouts. And then 10th, finishing up with the leg lifts. However, if you only have one set of rings, we should streamline the efficiency rather than raising and lowering the rings every couple exercises. So in this case, this would be my optimal order. We'll first start off with the rings high and start off with muscle ups, then going to the front lever, then we'll go to the back lever. Fourth would be L pull-ups, fifth would be leg lifts, then we'll go down and lower the rings into the pike push-up, followed by archers. Eighth would be rows, ninth push-ups, and then finishing with the rings fallouts. In this instance, we're keeping efficiency by not raising and lowering the rings every few exercises. And that's it for our 10 best rings exercises to build upper body strength. Thanks for following along and keep training hard. One thing that we've realized from training thousands of calisthenics athletes is that if your training is not personalized, it can hinder your progress, leave you injured, stuck, or plateaued. With the movement athlete, instead of having beginner, intermediate, and advanced exercises, we have exercises that'll be tailored specifically to you. It's also important to be well-rounded with your training. For example, some people have really strong legs, they might have weaker arm pulling muscles, or are lacking the shoulder mobility for handstands. You are a unique individual, and your levels of strength, mobility, and flexibility are different from everyone else's, and your training should reflect that. If you want to build skills, get stronger, and do it in a holistic way that will keep you healthy for years and help reduce injury, you've got to personalize your training. But the reality with personal training is that it can be pretty pricey, and it's often not available for what you want. And that's why we created the Movement Athlete Assessment.